Good day, everyone. How are you all doing today? Man, we've got some big news on the legislative front. I also have a new dashboard I'm going to show you guys on GeoNet and some updates on the MIP for Hive Mapper. So we're going to get through all of that in the show today. Also, tomorrow, set your reminders. I have a special guest coming on, Nate Harper with the Deep Network. So definitely want to check that out. We're going to talk about some of the things that are upcoming with that project, as well as what's going on and how the bills that are going through right now for crypto are going to impact different projects, including Deep Network. So Nate's going to tell us exactly how it's impacting their project in a very positive way. Heck yeah. What's up, Bob? Yeah, I'm rocking my this is actually a 375 AI hat as well. So, man, they have some good swag, I gotta say. But let's start off with a couple of fun news stories today. You guys have probably seen this one circulating around today. Man, it was at a Coldplay concert, and some people got put up on the Kiss cam that apparently didn't want to be on there.
Oh, look at these two. All right.
Whoops.
You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Well, it turns out that, yes, they were having an affair. That guy was actually the CEO of a company, and that was his head of HR. And turns out that his wife found out about it, has now deleted her Facebook account. He's locked his LinkedIn. So, man, guess the big takeaway there is don't bring your side piece to the Coldplay concert. Like, what the heck, man? Oh, look at this guy. He decided, hey, I'm going to hang a Ferrari from my ceiling. Man, that's just ridiculous. Like, why? You've got all these people that are like, man, I want my altcoins to come back so I can break even. And this guy's hanging Ferraris from his ceiling. Man, what a jerk. That's so ridiculous. I really don't get that. Oh, man. Let's get into some real news, though. Well, sounds like Coca-Cola and the America Healthy Again has agreed to use real cane sugar in Coke moving forward. So I'll say that's a big win. I know people have their different feelings on RFK Jr., but I think getting the artificial sweeteners and all the junk out of our food supply is a good thing for sure. And that wasn't the only win for Trump, actually. This is interesting. This is the CEO of Home Depot speaking here, who was very anti-Trump, actually, and he had some interesting things to say.
Look, let me tell you right now, I am sold on Trump. In fact, I'll say this. I think he's got a good shot at going down in history as one of our best presidents ever.
Wow. That is wild. And you would think, and this is kind of crazy, but with all the Epstein stuff going on and all the backlash that we've been seeing, you'd think that Trump's approval rating would be going down. But this is from CNN. This is a pretty wild clip.
I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% with Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real.
Yes,
in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
They went on to say that of all the people polled, there's only one person that said the Epstein issue is at the top of their list of priority items. So the big takeaway out of that poll was, yeah, people don't like the Epstein stuff, but they have other issues that they think are more important when it comes to Trump's approval rating. What other story? We'll get into some macro. The UK decided that they are going to be enabling 16 and 17-year-olds to vote. So interesting stuff there. Let me reshare this because I have a video I want to play. but I think my browser just had an issue. There we go. But this is what they had to say about that. Here we go.
I think it's really important that 16 and 17-year-olds have the vote because they're old enough to go out to work. They're old enough to pay taxes, so to pay in. And I think if you pay in, you should have the opportunity to say what you want your money spent on, which way the government should go. So I'm really pleased that we're able to bring more young people into our democracy and give them the chance to have a say over how their taxes are going to be paid and what they're going to be used for.
Interesting stuff there. I wonder how many other countries we'll see move in a similar direction. All right, let's talk some macro. Guys. NVIDIA continues to move. $4.22 trillion market cap now. It's kind of crazy. I'm holding some NVIDIA stock. In fact, in the dip back in, I guess it was April, right around when the tariff thing happened, I entered an NVIDIA 2X leverage fund, and it's up like almost 80%. But I'm starting to think I might need to cash some out. I feel like it has to be a little bit overvalued, right? I don't know. It just continues to move upward, and no signs of slowing down. But we'll see if it can continue on that trajectory. Big news in the robo-taxi front. So we've talked a lot about Tesla and Waymo. Uber is making its move. There's an announcement that they partner with Lucid today. And this autonomous tech firm, Nuro, I looked up Nuro. It's a private company, but Lucid stock, quite a day, up 34% on this news. Look at that spike. Pretty crazy. But man, I'll tell you what, this whole robo-taxi situation, it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And I mean, people are going to very quickly get used to riding in autonomous vehicles. I think Tesla, in my opinion, really has an opportunity to seize this market. I think there's going to be multiple players, but when you think about what Elon said in that video I played the other day, how if you're a Tesla owner, you can, when you're at home and not using your car, send your car out to basically drive people around and make extra money. In some cases, if you're like leasing a Tesla, it'll more than cover your leasing costs. So you could essentially have a free vehicle. That's a crazy concept. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that are very interested in that. What's up, Jesse? No worries, man. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And some other news, some tariff news. This just broke, so it's kind of a developing story. But the U.S. announced they're imposing a 93.5% tariff on key battery material from China. Read into the details there a little bit. It says that the U.S. Commerce Department imposed preliminary anti-dumping duties of 93.5% on Chinese imports of graphite. So it said that they thought that the materials have been unfairly subsidized. We see that a lot where the Chinese government steps in and subsidizes companies to where they can come in and undercut other companies' prices. But this is interesting. It said the new duties will add to existing rates. So apparently we already had some dumping duties on graphite as it was. So that's going to bring it to a total of 160%. So this is due to a trade association representing U.S. graphite producers in December filed a petition. There's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, they're trying to kill, electric vehicles because Trump hates Elon, blah, blah, blah. It does seem like that's probably not what's going on here when you read into the actual details. Oh man, there was a story about a big government contract that Elon got. What was that? I saw that yesterday. Oh, it's XAI. So they got let me pull this up real quick. So this is interesting. I didn't cover this yesterday. I think I saw it last night. Musk AI firm awarded a $200 million government contract with the Department of Defense. So that's interesting. I wonder what that's going to end up being and what they're going to end up doing for the U.S. government. But that's a big contract, especially considering all the shots that Elon's been firing at Trump recently. So I'm kind of shocked that they ended up giving him that contract. Let's take a look at the 30-year Treasury. It is up, guys, and it is approaching like a 17-year high. Not great. Not great. But what is kind of good, I guess, or at least looking better compared to when we covered it a few days ago, the Japan rate is going down. So we would love to see that continue to be driven down, so we don't have to worry about that reverse carry trade with Japan unwinding. Man. All right. Let's get into, we got lots of crypto stuff today. Let's get into that. Of course, the big story is my thumbnail. This came out earlier this morning, and Cynthia Lummis, or I think maybe it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday, because I was on one of my spaces when this broke. Cynthia Lummis came out and said, it looks like the U.S. has sold off over 80% of its Bitcoin reserves, leaving just 29,000 coins. If true, this is a total strategic blunder and sets the United States back years in the Bitcoin race. So, of course, we had to dig into the details here. Like, is there any legitimacy to this? Well, this guy right here was like, hey, I'll pay $10,000 to the first journalist who can get the U.S. Marshals to confirm the quantity. And, well, someone did come through. This account right here came through and said, here you go. Looks like you owe me 10 grand. And he said, is that the full list? Blah, blah, blah. And turns out, if you go down here a little bit, he said, good work, sent the address, and he paid. He paid the $10,000. So, man, I guess if you're an independent journalist willing to do some research, you can get paid out 10 grand. But there's more to the story, guys, of course. The big thing here is like the fact that everyone thought the U.S. was holding about 200,000 Bitcoin. That's been the consensus, and that's also what most people expected would go into the Bitcoin reserve, because that was kind of how it was structured. Hey, any Bitcoin that we own, the U.S. owns, will go into that reserve. Well, what exactly happened here? Well, did the U.S. sell it? No, they didn't sell it. So, of course, this started with Cynthia Lummis. What actually happened is that the Bitcoin, that the 200,000 that's recorded by Bitcoin treasuries, is made up of forfeited and seized Bitcoin. However, there's a lot of seized Bitcoin that it's not actually owned by the U.S. government. They have to, sometimes it can take years. So it goes into an example here of 95,000 Bitcoin that was seized by the Bitfinex hackers. It's still unclaimed. So in essence, there's Bitcoin in that 200,000, but it's not necessarily owned by the U.S. government. Because they have to decide whether or not that needs to go out to victims of a hack, or whether or not that will eventually be claimed by the U.S. government. And here again, it says these disputes can drag on for years. And here's the big takeaway. The U.S. government has not sold billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. There's a lot of people out there saying like the Biden administration sold all our Bitcoin. That's not what happened. But it does also say the strategic reserve will be significantly less stocked based on this disclosure. So that's the big deal here, if anything, is that the reserve that everyone was thinking was going to be 200,000 Bitcoin, it's likely going to be 28,000. That could grow depending on how the rest of this seized Bitcoin ends up playing out. But that's where we stand today. So that is the big takeaway there. But it hasn't stopped Bitcoin from chugging along, as we are coming up on 120K again. It's a beautiful sight, isn't it? Love it. Love to see it. And I thought this was an interesting takeaway, just to kind of put things into perspective of how scarce this asset really is. Only 0.27% of the global population can own one Bitcoin each. And when you look at how many, Pop said, sell the altcoins now. No, don't sell the altcoins now. Not financial advice. So I wanted to pull this up. There's 58 million millionaires in the world. So if every millionaire had a mad dash to buy up all the Bitcoin, every millionaire could only own 0.3, roughly a third. I think it's like 0.34 Bitcoin. You start considering how much some of these larger entities hold. The supply shock is coming. It is coming. No doubt about it. I think we have much higher to go in the future. Obviously, short term, who knows? There's going to be volatility, but yes, in the longer term, Bitcoin, I think, is going much higher, especially as banks continue to print money. Only increases the value proposition for Bitcoin. All right, let's talk about what's going on with the bills that are up for a vote. Also about this de minimis, the $600 spin that they're looking at proposing that would be untaxed.
Sure. Well, the president did signal his support for a de minimis exemption for crypto, and the administration continues to be in support of that. We are definitely receptive to it to make crypto payments easier and more efficient for those who seek to use crypto as simple as buying a cup of coffee. Of course, right now that cannot happen, but with the de minimis exemption, perhaps it could in the future, and we will continue to explore legislative solutions to accomplish that. As for the central bank digital currency and the Genius Act, which you noted has passed through Congress and will be sent to the president's desk. I believe the House is voting on it. If they haven't, they should be passing it. We know we have the votes, and we expect it to get to the president's desk, and we are planning a signing ceremony tomorrow afternoon. All of you will get more details on that. This piece of legislation.
Let's go. So we have the votes. Sounds like they're going to do like a signing ceremony tomorrow is the expectation. Very exciting stuff there. We talked about those bills on a couple of the spaces I've been on recently. Nate and I, again, for anyone joining late here, I'm going to have a special guest tomorrow, Nate Harper with Deep Network, one of the co-founders there. We're going to talk about their project, but also we're going to talk about the bills that are looking to pass here and what type of impact that has on DePIN projects. So that'll be a really fun discussion. And some other news. Dogecoin. There's a corporate, not just any corporation, a NASDAQ listed nanocap is starting up a Doge treasury. Pretty wild stuff there. It says that BitOrigin intends to build a Dogecoin treasury backed by $500 million in equity and convertible debt facilities. It says it was up 28%. Actually, it was up 78% on the day. Whoa. People love Doge, apparently. And you know what's crazy? That the price of Doge hasn't really moved that much. Only up about 3% on the day. But, man, you're going to see more and more of these companies start these treasuries. And I think you could probably find some short-term trades if you're quick in buying these things. But 78% on the day, I mean, that is crypto flowing over to your traditional stocks. We saw that with Circle. I think we're going to see that with a lot more. So got to keep your eyes on the ball. This is a big deal. BlackRock is seeking a staking option for their Ethereum trust. So it goes on to say, get out of here. It goes to say that the move would allow the fund to earn yield by locking up Ether to help validate transactions on the Ethereum network. Says the NASDAQ, which lists the fund, submitted the amended filing on Thursday. And the main takeaway here, the update signals that BlackRock is aiming to go beyond just simple Ethereum exposure and wants to participate in Ethereum's proof-of-stake consensus system. If approved, they could stake a portion of their holdings through one or more trusted providers, and again, to generate additional yield. Man, we are just getting started with Ethereum, guys, and it has been on a massive run. If we move over here, there we go. It was not long ago, on June 22nd, we were down at 21.85. We are less than a month later up to 34.48. Ethereum has been on a crazy run. We called this. I mean, in the live streams, it talked a lot about the Ethereum spot ETFs, the institutional adoption, how the stablecoin bill are all major catalysts here. So anyone that bought that dip, congratulations. That was a hell of a move. And Ethereum seems to be going much higher. There are a lot of people calling for 10,000 this market cycle. I don't know. I don't know about that, but maybe. Wilder things have happened. We also have XRP. XRP has been on a crazy run too. I think a lot of the people are front running these spot ETF approvals. It'll be really interesting to see if it ends up being a buy the rumor, sell the news event where, buying builds up to the launch and then we see a dip before we see another run up. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I think we saw something similar with some of the other ETFs. But regardless, this is another one. Man, June 22nd was that day, I guess, where the biggest dip happened. But we were down at $1.95 on XRP. Again, less than a month later, up to 337. Huge moves. Huge moves. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. Let's talk about some alts here. Bitcoin dominance continues to drop. That's what we need to see for the alts to run. So we love this. Still, though, we are nowhere near where we need to be to have like a full-on alt season. If you look like prior market cycles, it got all the way down to like 40%, I believe. Yeah, 40%. If we want to see like a parabolic alt season, let's say it's likely we're going to need to see, I don't know about 40%, because the market cap has risen so much. But I do believe we're going to have to see a much bigger drop here for us to see a big run. What's the lowest it's been this market cycle? It was about 50% in August of 23. So we really have not seen any major dips. That's why we haven't had this, the alt season that we have in years past. And I think these spot ETFs though could prove to be a boost for sure for alts. If you look at the fear and greed index, 74, so ticking up. Keeping a very close eye on this. This has been a very good indicator of market tops, guys, and good indicator of when to buy. What we're seeing, and I know we talk about this a lot, but I think it's super, super important, especially as we get to potentially a huge run up in the market. Guys, pay really close attention to this. And I'm for people that are in here and have heard me talk about this a million times, apologies, but for newer viewers, this one in particular, when you hit 90 or above, like clockwork, 3 weeks later, the market has topped out. We saw this in March of 2024. We saw this again right around Thanksgiving last year. We topped right around December 12th. So again, 3 weeks right after we hit that point. On the other end of things, what we've seen is when the fear gets extreme, particularly it's 20 or below, even down to like 10, you normally have a pretty long time to accumulate. So you don't have to be as quick. DCAing from that point forward is not a horrible idea, but this is certainly a great top indicator. Looking at some other top indicators, I haven't pulled this up in a while. There's this website that does their bull market peak indicators. So sell at the top. 0 of them have hit. So not a single one has hit. So I believe as long as the macro environment continues to cooperate, I believe we could have a ways to go still. So that's exciting. Look at some crypto bubbles. Let's see. Man, helium. Helium has been running. Honey's been running today too. So a lot of these DePIN projects, this is on the week, we're starting to see some major moves on the day. Honey and H&T obviously moving. Ours mixed bag, but things are looking pretty for DePIN for sure. Well, let's look at the other side of things. Big moves, obviously in the larger caps, starting to see it across the board. A lot of green in the market. It's what we want to see. That is what we want to see. Let's talk about the DePIN market cap. DePIN market cap's up to almost 35 billion. As it was not long ago, we were down at like 20 billion. Things had dropped significantly. But you have to remember the way market cycles have worked, at least historically, is Bitcoin runs, then you see large caps like Ethereum run, which is what we're seeing right now. And then you see the big parabolic moves in the smaller caps. We've seen a little bit of that this market cycle, but we haven't seen any massive moves. But that is generally like where the blow off top approaches, and it happens really quickly. So you got to be on top of things when we get to that part of the market cycle. And timing the top can be, you have to get pretty lucky. So it's always, it's not a bad idea to take some profits on the way up instead of having to try to time the top. Doesn't always work out, guys. Conduit Network, and I think they're doing some major things. But I think for DePIN to really hit its stride, we need to educate people more. And they're doing just that. So they're launching a nationwide push to educate lawmakers in all 50 states about DePIN. Bold first step in Kentucky. So I love that. And they're a really sharp group. Brandon in particular with Conduit Network. Definitely give him a follow. I'm going to bring him on for an interview here soon. We're having some discussions right now, but that guy is super sharp. So if there's anyone I would want to have doing this, it's him. So that's really exciting news. I posted this earlier. You guys might have seen this live stream, but I posted the segment that covering GeoNet and why it's my top project for in all of DePIN for 2025, and really looking forward, I imagine, as well. But check out this dashboard, guys. So this is Blockworks. Just posted this. This is for GeoNet specifically. So it's talked about how many cities they have miners in, what the last month's earnings were if you have a GeoNet hotspot. It's got the token burns in here, burn rate. It's got a lot of really cool metrics. I hope that they make these dashboards for all of the major DePIN projects. This will be like the go-to spot for wanting to look at the different metrics. Obviously, there's some good dashboards out there, but this looks really clean. I really like this dashboard. So I wanted to give them a shout out there. And I did just post about that, by the way. So give them a follow. They've been putting out some serious alpha on their posts. Let me see here. I think it's the replies. Right here. So this guy posted it. But yeah, give Blockworks a follow. They got this Blockworks research. So give them a follow, guys. They've got some really good stuff coming out. They had a really good helium post the other day too. Let's talk about MIP MIP 23. This is for helium, or sorry, for Hive Mapper. Man, I'm like mixing up my projects today. So this one in particular, I think, is a really meaningful MIP. It's enabling companies that want to utilize the data from all the bees, the dash cam, where they can pull that directly, and it kind of specifies the payment system when companies are pulling that data. So this is really, I think, critical for the next stage of this project. And they made some changes. I covered this already, and I actually have a video on my channel, but they did just make some changes I want to cover. Here are the main bullet points, but they want to switch from unique kilometers to total kilometers as the basis for developer fees. I'll touch on what that means. They reminted proportion distributed to contributors. So we'll dig into those details too. And then the 15 map credits per 1,000 kilometers. So it looks like they changed the cost. So if people are accessing credits instead of 15 map credits per 1,000 unique kilometers, which is what I believe it was before, if you go down here, looks like they're increasing that to 25. So that's the way that's my takeaway, is that they're increasing the cost, unless it's the other way around. But I believe it was 15 before. Now they're moving to 25. And that was some of the feedback I got on the original episode when I covered this. People are like, they should be charging more. So I believe, although it does say 15 here, but I believe it is that they're increasing the cost. The other big thing, though, guys, is the way that they're going to distribute the contributor rewards. So the way this works is, let's say that an entity is buying that data that they want to use. 75% of that spend goes to burning honey. So you can see that here. So in other words, if there was $2,250 in honey spent for these map credits, 75%, in this case, that'd be the 1687.50 would be burned out of the supply in the form of honey. And then the 25% is reminted and distributed to contributors. Okay, so that's a big deal. So you have your weekly rewards that go out anyway, but this would be above and beyond as revenue comes into the project. And what they're changing is how that 25% is distributed. So what they're doing here is, in order to be eligible to get part of that 25% of that revenue, you have to drive at least 50 kilometers per week. So they're putting a floor in place. So the contributors that are, and 50 kilometers, not a ton, right? So I think they just want to make sure that people are more active in order to be eligible for this. But they're also introducing a maximum of 3,000 kilometers. So there's a maximum that you can get out of this specific pool. Like the more you drive, you'll still be able to get more rewards. But for this specific 25% from revenue, they're putting a cap. And the main thing is that they don't want people gaming the system and just driving in the same area over and over and over again to get a higher percentage of these rewards. So that's their concept or their idea behind that. So I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I'm curious to see what type of revenue comes through the door. They've had some major announcements recently, so hopefully we see the revenue flow through with that, and I think we will. I know there's a lot of people recently that have been kind of giving them some flack for not having enough transparency around the token burns, but I think this MIP is going to really establish a clear ruling on the way that revenue is treated. So there should be more transparency that comes with it and additional rewards for all contributors. All right. As I mentioned, I'm going to have Nate Harper on tomorrow. So make sure to follow Nate. But we're going to have a really great discussion tomorrow afternoon. And it is at, 1:15 Central Time tomorrow afternoon. So that's going to be a really cool discussion. I'm going to start getting some more people on. I've had a bunch of people reach out that want to come on the show as a special guest. So we're going to start doing more of that so you guys can hear from founders, pose questions in real time. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. Sell all coins now. US government, that is. Man. What's up, Decentralized Rob? How's it going? All right, give Nate a follow, guys. Give Nate a follow. Woo. Well, that's what I got for the show today, guys. Not a super long one, but we knocked out a lot. They get Harry on it. You know what? I will get Harry on again. Harry is super smart. Of course, we're talking about 375 AI. Should I do a quick review of 375 AI before we hop off here? And let's pull up Harry's LinkedIn page because he's got quite the work history. I think he's like in his late 30s. Let's see here. This is Harry. So Harry Dewhurst of 375 AI, he was on Forbes 30 under 30. The guy was also the CEO of Linksys for like 2 years. Let's see all the work experience here. Linksys. He was the CEO for 2 years. Raised $160 million in funding for them, so that was pretty crazy. He also had another company that he sold for like $300-something million. Here it is, $321 million. He was a co-founder of this company. So the dude is like very accomplished. But let's talk about 375 AI real quick and what they're doing, because I think they haven't launched their token yet, but 375 AI is going to crush it. And it's perfect. I'm wearing their shirt. They have essentially they're setting up cameras all over the country with NVIDIA chips so they can capture that data, the visual data, and process it immediately. And that is going to be huge for, public service. So think about Amber Alerts. You've got hedge funds that will eat that data up to put into their different algorithms. And they've got some different projects. So the big one is the Edge. Now this thing is expensive. It's like $50,000, but they're going to start selling fractional ownership. So if you want to just invest like, $500 or $1,000, you can have a percentage of the ownership of the device. But here you can kind of see a good representation of what it does. So you've got the 6 cameras on these different billboards and then you've got the NVIDIA chips in there processing everything. And they've got an exclusive partnership with Outfront Media, which they have 50,000 billboards across the country where they're going to be setting this stuff up. They're also looking to start partnering with other projects, because this is obviously like prime real estate on these billboards. So they're already running like internet out there. They're already running power out there. So they're going to start looking at other projects that they can start, deploying on these billboards. So that's going to be really cool to get, potentially fractional ownership in several projects in a high traffic area. Really love what they're doing. And I think, Harry obviously has proven that he knows how to lead and be a successful CEO. So check them out. And the token launch should be coming in Q3, I believe. So coming up soon. Same with DABA. Man, we've got a lot of big token launches coming. You got Deep Network, you got DABA, 375 AI, Exhibits. Like, those are some behemoths. So that's super exciting. And they might be launching like right when things are like going crazy, parabolic, we hope. So that's super, super exciting stuff all around. But guys, that's what I got. I will try to get him back on the show. And check out tomorrow, though. Nate will have a good conversation for sure. I did an interview with him once, and he's super smart, and I love what they're doing too. I think this is going to be a very successful project. With that said, though, guys, have a wonderful Thursday. We will be back tomorrow. Peace.